Right, 9 o'clock, I'll start. So, since you all understand things, just in case you didn't know, press K twice to get a proper compass up. Van Hilton, can you tell me what the outer ring of numbers are?
On the compass, it's the heading.
Yeah, what's the name for the outermost ring?
That's a good question. The magnetic heading.
So like 40, 42, 44, etc. What are those numbers?
I have no clue, to be honest.
Decor?
Which one?
So
Which
the inner one are degrees. What's the outer one?
That the MilSim.
Exactly. Van Hilton, when in the 1680s would you use mils?
I've never used them.
That's the right answer. Basically, never is the answer. So forward air controllers sometimes use them if they want to feel special, but we always use degrees. Why do we always use degrees? What's the difference between degrees and mil dots? Mils.
Yeah, they are.
Most people understand degrees
Yeah.
faster in the head.
Also that.
Exactly. The only reason you'd use mils if you want to do fancy things with maths to work out ranges, which we don't do because we're not snipers and we've got rangefinders anyway. Cool. So compasses solved. Everyone understands compasses. Smith, what's a map?
A piece of cartography drawn on landmass drawn on a piece of paper.
How is it different from an aerial photograph?
Well, an aerial photograph is real-time pictures. The actual map will use lines for contours and etc.
Exactly. So a map is symbolic. It's an abstraction, so it's easier for us to understand. Because I don't know if you've ever looked at aerial photographs, but sometimes it's not particularly easy to work out what a hill is, etc. So you've all seen underground maps, tube maps. Yes? No?
Nope.
You haven't seen an underground map. So you've seen a transport map, right? The pretty lines with different colours.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that sort of map and the maps that we use?
The maps we use are for military purposes. They have different legends than the transportation or underground map, I think.
Ours are accurate, those are representational.
Exactly. Ours are to scale. Why do we care that ours are to scale? Van Hilton. What's the point?
Well, things don't need to be exact. It just needs to be give us just has to give the purpose of giving us a way around the land.
I don't think you quite understood what I meant. So scale, something being to scale means that I can measure a distance on. I can multiply it by some number, and I'll find the distance. Why do we care?
We want to know we want to be able to calculate how far something is from us.
Exactly, because we have to care about firstly how things look, so we can reconstruct the sort of 3D picture of the world in our head, and also because we care about sort of how far things are, whether we can shoot at things, whether we can walk to things, how long it's going to take to get artillery, that sort of thing. That sort of. Okay, so top of the map and the left of the map. So everyone should now be staring at the maps basically for the whole thing now. We have numbers. So I'm the ones that they say sort of 055, 056, 057, etc. Van Hilton, what are the names of the ones that run along the top from left to right?
It's the northings.
What makes you say that?
don't know how to explain.
Okay. Well, you're almost there. They are the eastings.
Oh, that's
And
good.
the reason they're called the eastings is because they increase the further you go east. Decor, what are the numbers on the left running top to bottom called?
I guess would be Northings,
Why do you think they're called the Northings?
because they go from the bottom up, the numbers.
Exactly, they increase the further you are north. If you just remember that, it's dead easy. So when we're reading out a grid reference, we read the easting for the northing. It's very important that you remember that. It's the easting followed by the northing, i.e. Up the floor and then up the stairs, anything like that. That's just by convention. There's no particularly special reason why we do that. Other than that, everyone does it that way. When we're reading out a grid reference, we always leave a gap between the eastern group and the northern group. Smith, can you tell me why we leave a gap?
Otherwise, if people would have a problem whether you're reading out a 3-figure, 4-figure, or 10-figure grid reference.
Exactly, it's so you can figure out how accurate the grid reference is and what's the eastern group and what's the northern group. You happy so far?
Yes.
Okay. Find Navex on the map.
Sin.
You say not see.
Yeah, Sin. Hey, how do you guys do that?
That's when we get on to
Oh,
in a bit. Okay, so the vehicles marker to our west. Decor, what's the 6-figure grid of the vehicles marker?
that is 058201.
Exactly. Van Hill, what's the 6-figure grid of stars? That's just to our southwest, about 500 meters our southwest.
055198.
No, it's
907.
197. Why is 197 not 198?
Well, you always say the morphing of the what's the above the morphing, like
Yeah, exactly.
197.
You always essentially round the number down. You never round up. You always down. So if it's 197 and a bit, or 197 and a lot, still 197 when you're to your grid. Just out of interest, Smith, can you tell me the name of the grid reference sort of system that we use?
Grids.
Yeah.
A name for it?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just a grid system, or a military grid reference system, MGRS if you want it.
There you go.
Christ, I didn't know you was going to ask that.
Top tip. Oh, top answer. I don't think anyone else has got it. Maybe one person got it.
I would hope Miller and Martin did.
They have been whisked away and teaching proper courses. I had the pleasure of teaching them. I think it was actually a recruit who got it. At least one person said, "Oh shit, MGRS," once I had mentioned it. Okay. Alright, so let's get more into what the scale. So, can anyone tell the distance that a 6-figure grid covers the length between 160 and the next?
100 meters.
100 meters, exactly. So what's roughly the distance of the diagonal of the grid?
Is it 1.5?
It is indeed 150 meters, give or take. The exact-ish answer is 141. but no one cares. Van Hilton, how long does it take to walk 100 meters?
Dependent on the terrain.
It depends on walking speed.
Give me a ballpark answer.
A minute? No, maybe.
A minute is exactly my estimate. To call, since we just said a minute, 100 meters, does it take us to walk across the diamond?
Maybe 1 minute 40 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's too exact. I'd say about a minute and a half is a good enough rule of thumb to work out whether your gigantic trek is worth it or not. So
I think change on this current stamina system.
it's going to be about a minute. They're not going to make it ridiculously slow. Out of interest, can anyone tell me roughly the jogging speed for 100 meters? Sorry, how long it takes you to jog 100 meters?
Let's say 30 seconds or so.
I like this guy. Yeah, 30 seconds or so is again a great rule of thumb. So roughly, how long will it take you to walk from the vehicles marker in grid 058201 to the stalking start in 055197? Van Hilton.
4 minutes? Wait, you said walking, right?
Walking.
Yeah, so somewhere around 4.5 minutes, I think. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
A bit less.
About 5 minutes would be a reasonably good estimate. See, this is already useful, right? So if someone's, I want you at stalking start, right, and you've got to walk, then you know it's going to take you 5 minutes. Okay, just one handy tip on the grid references before we move on to slightly more interesting things. Cos northings always increase the further you go north, and eastings increase the further you go east. If you're comparing two grid references, such as your grid reference and a point of interest, you can tell roughly what direction it is just by seeing whether the northern group and eastern group is bigger than your northern group or eastern group. Everyone roughly happy with that?
Yep.
Okay, and finally we'll go on to 8-figure grid reference. And really happy. Is anyone wanting me to take them through how to make an 8-figure grid reference?
It's a little bit rusty, but I think the knowledge is still there.
Okay, I'll
Just divide it up in 10 smaller squares, I think.
exactly. And the important thing is that you start at the lower number and go up to the higher number.
Yeah.
So Van Hilton, in 058201, there's a vehicles marker. What's the 8-figure grid of that?
05832014.
Sure. To court, the containers marker in 059020.
Yeah, that's 05932015.
Sure. I trust that you know. We are really blazing through this. Maybe it's because there's so few of you. Okay, so terrain features. How are terrain features shown on the map?
Come again?
How do we what the world looks like at the map? What are the main things that
That's
it looks
just the contour lines on the map.
Height markers.
like? Exactly. Contour lines, height markers, those are the main two things. What does a contour line mean?
It's a height line. It just shows what the inclination is of the terrain.
Exactly. So if I was to walk along a contour line, how far would I climb?
That depends on how close the contour lines are together.
If I was to
How
walk,
close
sorry,
the-
along, as in I follow, say, there's one just north of Navex where we are. If I was to follow this line, how far would I climb?
You
that's-
Any other answers than would I go down?
You would.
It depends how far you follow it. Oh, you stay on the same inclination if you follow the.
Exactly, so if you stay on the same contour line, you don't go up a hill ever, because that's what a contour line is. A contour line is somewhere that is at a certain height above sea level. Are you
don't
happy
know
with
what that means above sea level in Netherlands.
a constant height above or below sea level? Sorry. Now I'll get to tell you about the interface, because some of you are going to have GPSs in the bottom right of the screen. So the map screen on Armour, there are basically two main things you need to know. In the top right, next to the clock, there are 3 planes on top of each other. Click that button, you'll toggle the aerial photo. I find it about 1 billion times easier to read the map with the background turned off.
Yep, same here. I have it.
Second top tip, if you've got a GPS covering up the bottom right of the screen, if you press self-interact, go to map tools and then go to hide GPS on map.
Oh, that's why I can see.
And then oh, actually I'll tell you one more. So you're asking earlier, you point to things on the map. If you left click and you will point to people within, I think, 2 or 3 meters of
Yeah, I find out. A couple minutes.
you. It is extraordinarily useful. Okay, and then in
Until
the bottom,
you go to a no group and everyone's doing
yes. Then at the bottom right of the screen, you can see a thing called the contour interface. And everyone sees. And if you zoom out all the way, it changes to different.
Yep.
Van Hilton, what does the contour interval mean?
Contour interval. Oh, yeah. Interval in which the contours show.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
I won't make you say that. It's the difference in height between neighboring contours. So, there's a red one, and then there's one north of that. So the difference between those two in terms of height is just a meter. If you zoom out a bit, it goes up to 2 meters, and so between that one is 2. Contours are equally spaced in terms of how high they are above sea level. Why does that matter to Cork?
It's a little bit easier when you're more zoomed out, and I don't think I can give you a correct answer.
Okay, that's fine.
It's
Go on.
easier to see the inclination of the mountain.
Exactly. You can tell
Yeah,
how
yeah.
steep a slope is.
Course.
So this one here is pretty shallow. This one here is pretty steep. Cool. Now, if you've ever looked at a real map, the contours have likely been labelled with numbers telling you what they are. That way you can tell whether something is going uphill. In Armour, we don't have that luxury. We have spot heights labelled. Ben, how do we use spot heights to tell us the layout? How do we use it to tell us which way slopes are
I don't understand the question. You mean contours go towards the height marker?
going? Okay,
The
so
height marker is always the mountain.
this slope here, I can tell you this slope here is going down in this. How
It's not going up because there's no height marker in the middle. Also, it's, generally that Oh yes, the contours go around the height marker.
Okay, so what about this just off to the west? You saying it slopes this way?
This way.
But you just said it slopes towards the how do you know?
Oh, I said the height marker. Like the height marker is always in the middle of the top of the mountain.
But the middle of this thing here is about there, right? Anyway, I'll stop making you suffer. As you look at the surrounding height markers. So here I can see the height marker at 226. And so I know, given that there's another 214 just over here, that the general lay of the land is sloping downwards. And so this here slopes downwards. Okay. I made earlier in grid 058189er, which was the slope to court? 05818.
Let's see. It goes like this. It goes down from
Exact.
203 to 154, and then goes up again to 170.
Yeah. Van Hulten, do you see that?
Yes, I see.
So in grid 05901790, which way does that slope? Van Hulten?
059179.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. It goes. This is a valley. Like this goes down here. And this here.
Exactly. I'm reasonably happy that you understand that. So I will move on to the next bit, which is types of terrain feature. So who can we the hill looks like on the map?
I can.
Go on.
Just north of the Navax marker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
239. That's a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like this.
How do you know that? What does it look like?
It just goes round, or more or less. It goes around more or less the contour lines.
Exactly. So it's a closed contour. Does everyone understand what I mean by a closed contour?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Certainly, around Navex Knoll, if we go back close, we can see a closed contour here. Everyone see the one I'm drawing out?
Yep.
What about this one? Is this one also a closed contour? Is it a loop? It's not a loop.
Well, it's an extremely large one, but no.
There you go, it's an extremely large one. How do you know it's an extremely large loop?
You can actually follow the red line round.
Okay, but without following the red line all the way around, how can you guess that it's an extremely large loop?
To the point it's got to end somewhere.
Well, the opposite rather. It doesn't have to end anywhere. It can't end anywhere. What would it mean if it did end?
It'd be the loop.
Yeah, exactly. We'd have an infinite sort of slope going all the way up to the moon or something. It's quite a subtle point. Does everyone understand it?
Yeah, so far.
It's kind of like a rainbow. It can't have a... Cool. Yeah. Closed contours, and you've got spot height top. You pointed out the one to the north is a good with a spot height 239. The ground all the way... slopes down away from the top. Alright, Smith, what's a knoll?
A knoll really is a small hill for us.
Exactly, it's a very small hill, such as the one we're set on, no more than about 10 metres higher than the ground surrounding. Great. Van Hilton, what's a depression in terms of terrain feature?
Slight slightly lower than the sea level. Like, it's not too steep, but it's just below sea level.
Okay, that's not quite what I've got here. So a depression is kind of like the opposite of a hill. So it's closed contour, and then it's got a isolated sort of flat-ish region at the bottom, which may or may not now be marked with a spot height. The ground slopes up in all directions away from it. We don't see many of them in the real world or on the map. Why do you think that is? Decor, any idea?
Is it a little bit like a valley or something?
Sorry,
Only
like
smaller, like a valley or
a
yeah, but much smaller.
sort of, but a valley tends not to be bordered. So this would be bordered on all edges. So it's literally like the inverse of a hill.
Let's see if I can find
You
something that resembles it.
you're not going to find one on the map, at least not quick. Why? I tell you that they're rare. Why do you think they're rare? Or why might I think that they are rare?
For one, armor doesn't support the underground structures, I believe, below the map.
It does actually support depressions. What it doesn't support is lakes. Smith, put me out in
Yes.
my misery. Why are
Say again?
depressions rare?
I would say they're not so much rare. They're rare on this type of map, but if you have sort of desert type terrain, they should be quite prevalent. Because they're actually the form, but the area between dunes. But
So why do you think you see them on desert maps but not this sort of... Sorry, not this sort of terrain?
I suppose it just goes down straight to the topography of the actual place you're actually working on.
I'm afraid this is kind of a geography question. What's the difference between a desert and this terrain?
You're talking about heights above sea level now.
Yeah, what's the difference between what's the difference between a desert, just generally, and this area now? What's the major difference?
A desert has got nothing on it, hence it being a desert.
Okay, but why doesn't it have anything?
You need Lee for this. He's doing advanced geography.
And you know the answer.
I don't know. I give up.
If you don't water a plant, what happens?
You're talking about. I can't believe we're getting into this. Okay, the desert. You've got no plantation. You've got no growth. No. So all you've got is shifting sand.
No bloody water.
Yeah.
Okay. So how's the terrain here shaped?
Oh, I get where you're getting at.
The terrain here is shaped by the actual water courses, or the ones
Exactly.
that used
So
to be here.
water,
Lower
it rains,
hill.
it erodes. What happens when water finds a depression?
Fills it.
It fills it, or it finds a way out and starts eroding it, and it stops being a depression. So that's all I wonder.
Hence the reason why you'll get them predominantly in deserts rather than this type of terrain.
Exactly. See, we learned something. It's good. But it's actually
That's my opening sentence.
he said desert. He said desert, but he didn't say why. All right. I was impressed that you said desert. No one else has said desert. Everyone else has just said no, they don't exist, man. Cool.
We have a small desert on the map there.
But there you go.
You
So
didn't- hold on. It's a whole
depressions
depression, and you knock a dike down.
depressions are rare because of water. All right. So a valley on just to speed along a bit up the valley on the map. So from 0551902 running south-ish. Everyone see me waving around quite a large scale. So a valley is level ground by sides of a contour surrounding a valley shaped away from the valley. So grid 053 189. That's 053 189. There's a nice U-shaped contour facing away from the valley. And again in 053188. Does everyone see what I mean by U-shape away? The contours that kind of face into the valley are sharp. They're kind of more V-shaped. Everyone's faffing around on them.
Yep. See.
Since Smith is a bit upset at me, I won't ask. Van Hulten, why are the contours that face into the valley sharper than the ones that kind of face away? So this one here is quite kind of smooth, and I'm calling that one that faces away from the valley. This one I'm calling faces in, and it's quite sharp. Why is this one sharper than this one?
I won't have a clue, to be honest.
The core, any idea?
I would say again erosion or something.
Exactly,
wow.
it's water again. So the ones that are sharp have been caused by water running down them, carving away. When you get a tiny bit of rainfall, it's sort of the deepest path. Yeah, exactly, and it cuts it sharp. It rains a lot less often, and so for the water to reach the further edges is less likely. And so it's sharper because it's cut into, and it's shallower, it's smooth on the edges because it's cut away less often. Okay, a bit of a it helps me at least to remember why the contours that are further out from a valley are sharp and the ones that face away from it smoother. Okay, maybe more relevant. What's the ridgeline? Van Hulten.
So, how would you describe it? And it's where the edge of the mountain reaches the horizon.
Yeah, give or take. Just west of the valley we were in, there's a big one going all the way from grid 041 all the way up northeast. See that?
Yep.
And so it's level ground bordered by sides of lower ground. And the contours face the valley. So you've got U-shaped one facing sort of towards the valley, and V-shaped facing, the ridgeline, facing into the ridgeline, V-shaped facing away from the ridgeline. Happy so far?
Yep, it's clear.
Okay. So, can anyone tell what a draw is?
What?
A draw.
No.
Van Hulten?
Nope.
Smith?
It's an American for an English bird called a reentrant.
So awfully sorry. I haven't heard it called reentrant in years. Everyone's been calling it draw. Oh no, just told the whole 1688 that they're called draws when they're called reentrants. Bloody hell. I am so awfully sorry.
It is a smaller valley. Normally a smaller valley with a sort of curve at one end, but it is an Americanism.
I'm really sorry. I knew they were called reentrants, I just forgot. I'm going to blame you. Okay, so a great example is, well, a good example is in. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's more like a valley. So
Too big?
a reentrant is kind of the smaller ones that don't have much level ground at the bottom. These are the ones that kind of runs. Does everyone see where I'm my hand?
Yes.
Yes.
Not. Does someone say not seen?
Yeah, I said seen.
I didn't say yes because it's like not. Okay. What's the opposite of a reentrant?
Spur.
Exactly. So they're kind of U-shaped. Re-entrance tend to be sharp, and they kind of stick out a hill or ridge lines, like this one here, that one there, one, etc. We happy?
Yes.
So Van Hilton grid 05617. First, tell me what way the slope's going, and then tell me what kind of terrain feature that is. Zero five six one seven.
Slope's going this way.
Mhm.
I mean this right here, right?
0561 this here.
Is that a spur?
This is a spur. This is a re-entrant.
So re-entrance basically where the water streams.
A bit that's to a hill. Spur kind of
Right.
sticks out.
Alright.
Decor grid 064164. 064164. Again, tell me which way the slope is going, and the type of terrain feature it is.
Slope is going this way, up.
Mhm.
And I think this is need to pronounce it right. Shite. Re-ent?
You can call it a spur. Sorry, no
Oh,
shit, a draw. You can call it a draw if you like.
Draw. Yeah. I think it's a draw, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Smith, you don't get a go.
Thanks.
Thanks, Smith.
Okay, so there's a few of feature to hill. The ones sort of nearest us are relatively flat or linear in their curvature, as in they kind of look like straight lines. This one, I'd say, to our north-northeast, if you just close your maps for a second, is kind of bumpy, but the one to our direct north-northwest, or the series of hills there, are kind of linear, kind of flat-ish in their slope. Do you understand what I mean by having a flat-ish slope?
Yep.
It means when you look at it on the map, I hope brief break, the contours are relatively evenly spaced. You'll see me waving around on the map. Yeah?
Yep.
So contours aren't east. What does that mean in terms of hill?
It's more. I think it's more steep or shallow, depending how far they are apart.
Okay, so what if the contours aren't evenly spaced, as in they start, say, widely spaced and they get tighter? What does that mean for the shape of the hill?
Tighter means steeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wider means it's less steeper.
So if it starts out as one and ends as the other, what does that mean for the shape of the hill?
Goes from non-steep to steeper. Steeper.
You get a curve, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really quite difficult to put on this map, as the hill's beautifully straight. Quick look around.
At grid reference at 5.
207. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's reasonably spaced. I'd like more exaggerated than that. Grid 046152 is quite way to the south. 046152. Everyone see that?
Yep.
See.
So at the top we've got reasonably widely spaced contours. and then as we go down, it gets closer and closer and closer. So at the top it's quite shallow, and towards this side here it's kind of steep. There's a special name for this. It's called a convex slope. No one will ever remember the name of that. No one will ask you what it's called, but just so we're talking about it now, and it's called a convex slope. Now the opposite's always the tricky one to find. So in grid 046145, 046145, the slope here is steep towards the higher bit and shallow towards the lower ground.
Mm-hmm.
That is called a concave slope.
Concave and
Convex.
convex.
So if you're salting a hill, do you think the ground to be initially steep and then shallower, or initially shallow and then steep if we're salting up a hill?
I would prefer the concave.
Yeah. Give some cover at first.
Wait, you want concave if we're assaulting up it, Smith?
Yeah, because if you go convex, the bad guys are going to be out of sight from the bottom.
That's kind of the point, right? Because when we're...
Well, no, but if you're assaulting, if you're sneaking up it, it's the other way around. I would go for convex, they wouldn't see you coming. You're saying you're assaulting, so we're trying to shoot the bad guys as we're going in.
Yeah, but whenever in the 16A do we assault people without supporting fire? This is essentially never. Even if you're doing it with
normally
fire...
we fix bayonets and march forward in a line with a whistle.
I'm going to decree that Smith has the wrong answer. We want it to be initially steep as we're climbing up it, so that the bad guys can't just sit there and shoot at us while we're trying to run towards them. We want the cover so that at the very last minute, once they've been shot to shit, suddenly they find this angry section of British men sort of sprinting at them. You know, when we're sort of, you know, maybe 20 meters away, 10 meters away, something like that.
So initially steep and then...
Exactly. So it looks kind of like an upside down U if you're looking at it from...
That's a concave, right?
Sorry?
That's a concave, right?
That is a concave. Hang on. No, that's convex. Sorry, you misled. It's convex.
Is it?
Yes. It's widely spaced at the top, closely spaced at the bottom. That's what convex is.
Oh, yes.
So it's shallow at the top, steep at the bottom. Conversely, if we want to defend a hill, then would we rather it was shallow at the top and steep at the bottom, or steep at the top and shallow at the bottom? The core?
Come again.
So if we've got a hill that is... We have a choice of two hills. One is shallow at the bottom and steep at the top, and the other is shallow at the top and steep at the bottom. Which would we rather sit on the top of and defend from Smith?
Let's see. I think
You defended it. I want a concave one.
Yeah, the one who's the steepest. Yeah, the concave one. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's the concave one. Because, well,
It's just easier to defend from that position because you have a better overview and it's harder for the attacker to assault the position.
and the clincher, what's more is, as the people get shot to shit and get closer to you, their climb becomes harder and harder and harder. So by the time they want to throw grenades at you and sprint at you, they've basically got kind of a cliff face to run up. And so it's going to be even harder for them. Which is why Smith kind of... It doesn't make sense that you prefer it to assault, because the bad guys would prefer it. the bad guys prefer it, then it doesn't make any sense, right?
Okay.
Cool. And we're exactly on schedule. Have you all got map tools?
Yes.
Decor?
Repeat your last message.